Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Review. Hey friends, today I am bringing you some more romance recommendations. This one we are looking at caretaking / sick bed recommendations. So the reason why I don't have this separated out, I have made some caretaking videos before. I will link those up there. I have a playlist that has almost 400 recommendation videos on it. I also have different playlists if you're looking for taboo recs, dark romance recs, historical recs. I have a playlist for that, so check it out. But caretaking is something that I know a lot of us really love. We also love sickbed scenes. So within my video recommendation form, which yes, I do check it out, I have a lot of videos each month that I need to make. You know, they're the cyclical videos that I always make. But when I'm feeling uninspired or I don't know what recs to give you guys, I will pop into that form and see what I want. You're welcome to request a video there. I won't always get around to it. Sometimes I'm not even interested in what'll be in it, but sometimes it inspires me. And this is one that I'd seen in a few different ways. I had people say the heroine's in the hospital and he comes to see her, or she's taking care of him, or they have a disability and she's taking care of him. So there's all different ways that it can go. I decided to merge caretaking and sickbed scenes together. And the ones that include an actual, the person is ill and is being taken care of, I will tell you. The rest of them, it's more like a feeling that we're getting in it. You know, there's a few of these that, you know, let's be honest, it's the heroes. There's one of them that it's the heroine, but where the heroes are real caretaking types, and whether they're a billionaire and they're sweeping the girl off their feet, or whether it's like a daddy situation where this little lost girl just needs a big, strong, rich daddy to take care of her. We have some of those. And then we also have, like I said, some straight up ones where people are injured and they're needing care, and so we're getting to see that. So like I said, I'll tell you which ones have actual sickbed, otherwise the rest, there's different levels to the caretaking that we'll talk about. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first one that I wanted to share is a historical romance, and this one is called Selena. This is a part of the Bellamy Sisters series, which I just love so much. It starts with Phoebe as the first one, but in this one we have Selena, who, after some events that happen in previous books, which you can read this one as a standalone if you want to, because a lot of the books in this series are taking place at the same time. So yes, they go in order, but also a lot of these heroines' love stories get kicked off about the same time. Although this one does come, the events of this one do overlap with Hyacinth just a little bit. But anyway, Selena ends up away from home. She's kind of sort of run away. She's kind of sort of put herself in a bad position. And she's just like, you know what? I just want a break from all of it. I don't want to deal with the responsibilities of my family. She is a very beautiful woman, and she's supposed to be the one who's going to have a advantageous marriage and save everyone. And she just, the pressure is just too much for her. And so through some shenanigans on her part and running away from two men who are both, one trying to ruin her and one trying to save her, and she doesn't care for either of them, she ends up taking a position as a housekeeper to this grumpy, is he an earl? Is he a lord? I can't remember. Blah, blah, blah. Why doesn't it say what he is? I don't know. I can't remember if he's an earl or a duke or whatever, but it's some titled gentleman who's actually blind, and he's a big, crabby butt face, and nobody wants to work for him. And she's like, you know what? I've taken care of a house before. I mean, she kind of has. I could do a good job at this. So she gets herself hired as the house taker, the housekeeper of this house or whatever. And in doing so, she now is having to deal with this surly lord who wants to keep everyone away from him, who is just push people away. And of course, he's a sad, broken man. He's a widower. And she really challenges him to stop making his world so small. Because yes, he is blind. Yes, there's some things that he can't do, but there are still things that he can do, including, let's hear it now, play chess together. He remembers what the board looks like. They can still play chess. Minerva Spencer likes to put chess in her books for sure. There's just so much they can do. So this is a May to December romance, though. It is an age gap. Most of hers are age gaps. They are. But I thought this one was really lovely. And I like Selena, who she has never really had a chance to be more than her beautiful face. She's never had the opportunity to be more than that. And so to have this surly lord who's giving her shit and like making her job difficult, and he can't see who she is or realize who he's talking to, it's just very freeing for her. So yeah, but she does take care of him and help get his life in order. So really lovely book. All right, then we go to the end of the world here, and we have Sanctuary. And this one does involve some actual injury / a sickbed type thing. So this one, oh, I love this one. This one's a very wintry feeling one. This is a part of one of my favorite series of all time, the Kindled series. This is an Apocalyptic series. I just did a whole video on this series, basically. It had other books in it too, but this one involves blah blah blah, Aiden, and what's the heroine's name? Oh goodness, these ones are always in first person. And is it Brianna? Bum, bum, bum. I think it's Brianna. Sorry. I think it's Brianna. And Aiden and her kind of end up in a competition with each other, which I'm not going to go into all of the details with this one again. I just did a video, which was like survival romances / like end of the world ones that you can check out for full deep dive. But anyway, these two end up in a competition against each other where they're both racing to one place to try to get some supplies that if they're the first one to bring them back, then they'll like win the like it's hard, there's no contract now at the end of the world, but like win the position to be the main like helper for this one city. Anyway, like I said, it's confusing to explain out of context, but they've always had kind of this like animosity towards each other, and Brianna has always kind of had to make herself she's always had to use her body to help her and her sister survive. Well, now she has found, like, her sister has found a love that happens in Citadel, I think is the one that happens in. Yes. And so now she's like, I don't need to protect anyone but myself. I don't need to agree to anything but what I want to agree to. And so when there's this man who's like giving her shit for, you know, running not raids, but like running missions and stuff like that, she's just like, fuck you. So anyway, when they're on this like race to get to it, it starts snowing, and she actually ends up falling and severely hurting her leg. And he's not a complete asshole, obviously. He is a bit of a grump and kind of a jerk, but he's like, I'm not just going to leave you here. So they happen to be near this rundown church, and so he helps her get in, and now they need to survive. It's a little like survival within a survival story type of thing, and they have to stay there till the snowstorm's over, and it kind of forces them to work through this animosity they've had for all this time and kind of get to the bottom of it. But it does involve him helping her with her injury and everything like that. It was very sweet. There is quite a bit of caretaking that happens in that series as a whole. Like Homestead, the most recent release too, I really loved the caretaking in that one as well. Okay, then we have the quarterback. This one also has someone with an injury that needs care, because we have our quarterback here who is Colton, and this one is a both of them are like having a bi awakening in this, which I love, because it's this one's Nick. Wait. Here we go. Nick is the dad. Colton is the guy. So Nick is the father of actually one of the heroes from The Jock, where he learned that his son was gay in that one, and he's very supportive of that. And then his son and his son's boyfriend like go away for the summer to spend time at his family ranch, the boyfriend's family ranch. And Colton, who is also a football player with the boyfriend of his son's, who is a football player with his son's boyfriend. There we go. And he actually gets injured, and he can't like walk up his steps or take care of himself, and everybody else is like gone for the summer, and he doesn't really have anywhere to go to be taken care of. And so Nick, who is also in the town, and him and Colton get along, they start hanging out, and Nick starts helping him get around a little bit in the beginning, and they start spending all this time together, and eventually something blossoms. So there is some lovely caretaking in here, and Tal Bauer just writes some of the most romantic and sweet with good amount of angst, but like his love stories are just so good. Even not even having to qualify them as gay love stories or bisexual love stories. They're just beautiful love stories. Straight up. He's such a good author. I highly recommend if you've been nervous to try romance. I'm not here to judge you for that. It took me a very long time to want to try it. I didn't think I'd be interested in anything. And then I read some MMFs at point and I was like, oh, maybe I don't even need the woman in there. I don't know. Anyway, this isn't all about that. But my point being, like, I feel like Tal Bauer or like Elle Kennedy are really good places to try it because they're very good stories. The romance are very romancy, you know, and so I like those. Anyway, okay, then we have Soar High by Cherise Sinclair. This one also has actual, like, sick bed scenes in here. So this is book 4 in the Sons of the Survivalist. Again, I do recommend you start at the beginning of this series because the events directly lead into each other. And specifically, going from the book before this one is... blah, blah, blah. What is the book before this one? I forgot. What's the one before this? I know Lethal Balance is book 2. What You See. What You See leads directly into this one. And without having to go through the whole thing, like, we have Hawk. He's the most scarred and broken of our 4 brothers in the Sons of the Survivalist. They're all adopted brothers who were raised by this survivalist in Alaska. Now that man is gone and he's left his sons with a mission to revitalize this small town in Alaska. And so Hawk has been kind of our more standoffish one. He has a lot of scars, literally and figuratively. He has some PTSD, but he helped us carry out a mission at the end of book 3 where there's a cult in town and they were holding some women and children captive. And in What You See, a friend of one of those women being held captive, she's made her way there to rescue her best friend and her, you know, godson there. And, you know, spoiler alert, they do rescue them. And now this woman, Kit, and her son, they are both very traumatized by what they've lived through. And the little boy really latches onto Hawk. He just right onto him like a little sucker and is just like, I love this grumpy, growly man. And so it ends up that Kit and her son, because there's this big compound that the 4 men live at. They each have a house and they connect like underground and everything. Seriously, they were survivalists. So, you know, their adopted father really set them up good for protection and everything. And so Kit and her son feel the safest at Hawk's house. And that's very strange for him. Usually people don't pick him over other people, but the little boy really, really likes him. And so Kit, who is very badly injured right before the like escape attempt and everything, she's in a lot of pain too. So they both have a lot of trauma. They're both kind of caretaking each other, but specifically in the beginning, Hawk is really helping her and her son to heal. And this is also like the finale to this quartet. And it's so good. I'm rereading this series right now for patrons and it makes me so happy. Okay, let's just do, I have one other one that is actual sickbed stuff. And then we'll get into some other ones. So there's also another historical. There's Hello Stranger. This one, the heroine is a doctor. Her name is Garrett Gibson. And our hero, Ethan, he is a like secret agent, aka like undercover officer, aka a freelance guy who does different jobs. And him and Garrett have kind of been dancing around each other. They're very attracted to each other, but he knows that the job he does is very dangerous. He also shouldn't care about anyone because it could put that person in danger. But him and Garrett are just so drawn to each other. And not too far into this story, the men who are after him attack him and shoot him, and he ends up in the Thames. And if you don't know, the Thames is like flow off sewage in a lot of places, and so it's very dangerous. And Garrett gets called in to try to heal him, and really the things that she does to save him are very dangerous. I mean, he was going to die if she didn't, but she knew she couldn't look herself in the eye or survive if she didn't try. And so, you know, it's a romance, so you can guess what happens from there. But there's definitely some good sickbed scenes in here, and actually some very romantic stuff, because the dude hides a lot of his feelings, right? He's a very gruff, tough guy. But when he thinks he's going to die, he starts trying to say all this romantic stuff, and she's like, shut your mouth. You don't get to be romantic now that you think you're going to die. And he's like, oh, you're you're so aggressive about it, basically. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to save you, and then you can try again, right? Like, I love that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, now we have one that I recently read, and now, like I said, we're getting into some of these that it's a feeling of caretaking. The men, you know, we'd say that their love language is like acts of service about them, right? Like, that's what we'd say, if you know what love languages are. So one that I just recently read was called Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. And this one involves some witness protection, and our heroine ends up staying in this place where there is a bourbon, I don't know what to call them, like a bourbon house. There's these brothers who work it. And she's there because she's on the run from someone, and the FBI has some connections in this town, and so they put her up there. And I think, like, I really have to check this out because I've said it, but someone knows that she's Witsec, but, like, none of the other people do. And it's supposed to stay secret, right? Not everyone's supposed to know. But our hero, he's an ex-officer, and he has a K-9 even. He was a K-9 officer, so it's him and his dog who've retired together. His dog's name, her name is Julep, and we love her. Okay, Julep is a hero in this story for sure. And Julep starts to fall for the heroine too, which is cute. Okay, it's cute. She falls for the dog. The woman falls for the dog before she falls for the hero in this one. But he's very suspicious of this woman who's now living nearby, and who just, there's a lot of interesting things about her that he doesn't quite know what to think about it. And of course, like, he can ask questions, but she can't tell him. For her own safety, she should not speak out loud the things that's going on. But they're just undeniably drawn to each other, and she knows that if they are gonna have any chance, she needs to tell him. And also, because of what his job was, like, he is also, you know, very well placed to be able to take care of her if she will tell him. And also, you know, he's never fully felt this way about someone before, but he did lose a woman that he cared quite a bit about, and so, you know, he's a bit gun shy in that respect. But as he starts to fall for her, the way that he expresses his love, I just love so much. And I said this when I first reviewed it, like, I love a good, like, naughty nickname. I love a cute, you know, all the heroes these days, they gotta call someone something, right? His nickname, he straight up just calls her Honey, and I love it. I love it because there's a few scenes where he just says honey with the most, like, oh, it just feels so lovely, and she calls him babe, and in part, I'm just like, this shouldn't be so warm and fuzzy, but you know, like, you know that it isn't, like, performative or over it. It's just, like, it slips out the first time he says it, and it's not a condescending name that then becomes sweet, like, he's like, you're my honey, you know, and it goes with, like, the bourbon theme and all and everything. So this is going to be the first in a series, and I just really love this hero. And a few of the choices he makes near the end of this book with his devotion for her, I was just like, I was on board. So I really see this man as a protect and serve type. And again, and his dog loves this lady, and so he's like, well, I'm gonna listen to her. So I love it. Okay, then there is 1% of You by Michelle Gross. I just love the man in this one. He is someone too who starts out as such a grumpy jerk. His name is, hold on, Elijah, and he's a pretty, like, broken down dude. He owns a couple tattoo parlors, and he lives in this house that's across from an apartment complex, and there's this pregnant young mother and her, like, I can't remember, I think she's 3 or 4, and he's like, he has a lot of bad thoughts about her to start. Like, some, not bad as in sexualization, right? That also annoys me. But bad as in, he's like, wow, it's just another mom who's on welfare and who's doing, like, he has some very unattractive thoughts to start. We'll put it out there. And he actually gets on the wrong side of her daughter to start with, because they happen to be at a grocery store and the little girl's reaching for one type of chips, and, like, he takes it instead. Just a stupid thing. Like, he's honestly being a little shit. And he realizes he's like, why am I aggravating this child? And to make it up to her, because then the mom too is like, are you serious? Like, why are you doing this? And she calls him, like, judgmental guy is what she calls him. He's rude, he's cruel, and just, like, not good at all. And so yeah, there's just this vibe about him she doesn't like. But again, he decides to make it up to her daughter. And so he brings her like a different snack like every day. And Hadley is kind of like, can you stop like giving her junk food? And he's like, I really got to make it up to her for being such a jerk. And through observing her, he slowly puts together that like, this isn't a woman who's taking advantage of anything. And like, why is she on her own? Where's the father of these kids? Like, what's going on? And he slowly starts to learn those things. And when there's opportunities for him to step in and help, he offers it like right away. You know, she needs help getting her kids from here to there. Like he's like, I'm stepping up, I'm doing it. And you know, at first he's like, what is this guy trying to get out of this? And at first he honestly, again, he's doing it because he felt like an asshole and he's trying to make it up to them. But then also as he gets to know her, like he's kind of an annoying pest because she's like, stay away. Like, I don't need another man in my life. Like stuff is too complicated, too many things. And he just slowly like wins her over and he's there. He's there for her. So yeah, I really like it. And then once the baby is born, he just is really there from the beginning. And I just love it. So yeah, definitely a caretaker in a lot of ways. Okay, then there's another one I just recently read, which was Little Sunshine by Layla Frost. This one is a daddy kink romance. So for sure, a big main part of those is the caretaking aspect. And this one, we have a heroine who's really down on her luck. And the hero actually catches her trying to steal from someone at the resort and hotel that he works at. He does security and he's the right-hand man to the boss. And he makes her give it back. And he's very like intrigued by her and kind of wants to help her out. Now, she doesn't trust him or doesn't want to be seen by him. And so she makes a run for it. But he keeps an eye on her and he ends up saving her from being, well, she is partially assaulted in the beginning. It's very hard. Like it goes pretty far, but he ends up saving her. And once he does that, he's like, she's not going back there. She also has a mother who has continued to take advantage of her and just bleed her dry. And he's there to really help give her a backbone and kind of stand up to her. I mean, honestly, her mother is really abusive and is just a snake to her. It's just awful. So this was pretty good. There's also like Little Dove is the book that came before this one. And I guess there's going to be one more too that's called Little Goddess. And yeah, I've been really, it wasn't like the bestest best daddy kink I've read, but I also just thought this couple was sweet and I loved how much he cared for her for sure. Okay, then we have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. This one just straight up, this man is an acts of service all the way home. Okay, Ryan Shea, there's a reason why he is bae. There's a reason why we just are obsessed with him. And he starts out as a grumpy Gus, absolutely. And when he needs, you know, when this woman moves in with him because his sister asked him to, when Indy does that, he just wants nothing to do with her. He doesn't want to fall for her. He just wants none of it. But he can't help but be completely like enamored by her. And as he gets to know her more, he slowly does these little things that are like acts of service for her, like making sure there's coffee in the fridge in the morning so she can make her iced coffee, making sure there's things around the house that she wants, finding out about certain dreams that she has and going about making them happen. And then there's a time where they fake date for his career. He needs to look more stable and look more, you know, I don't even know what it was, more family oriented. So they pretend to date for a couple events and he just can't help but be drawn into her. Now, he was really hurt before by a previous partner, and that makes him very gun shy. Really, the only person he wants to care about is his sister, that was the heroine in the first book. But slowly he starts to fall for Indy and just realize that she is everything. And Indy is just completely blown away by him. She thinks he is safely put in a certain box of like what he's going to be to her. And then he just slowly continues to worm his way into her heart. Before she knows it, she has no chance of escape. And yeah, I love Ryan Shea. Again, there's a reason why he's with so many people's book boyfriends in 2022 or 2023. Yeah. And I mean, I just love him. He's great. And then one of the bestest caretakers of all is, of course, Elliot. Of course, Elliot from P.S. You're intolerable. Okay. He had to be on here. He had to be on here. And, you know, there's a lot of aspects of this one that are like 1% of you, right? That I really love, not his baby. And I love when a heroine is pregnant for part of the story. I really enjoy that. And I love how Elliot, he's her boss. He's absolutely intolerable. She thinks he is a cyborg. He's barely human. But she finds out very quickly and well, not very quickly, but she finds out through time that when she needs someone, he's going to be the one. Even when she doesn't ask, even when she thinks she doesn't want it, he sees to her every need and makes it happen before she even thinks to ask. He does things like buy the entire floor new office chairs because he can tell that she's uncomfortable in her chair. Making sure that she gets the right nanny for her kids so she's comfortable to come back to work to him. And as he falls in love with her, even once he's ready to like push for this relationship to happen, he sets it up so that if things were to go wrong, that she never has to worry about her future and that she's not going to be ruined for other job prospects or other anything if she didn't want to stay with him. And I just think the caring and thought of that is just so, like, it's just so beautiful and just so good. And I just love that about him. I just love that about him. So yeah, Elliot, he's my #1 book boyfriend last year and one of my absolute favorite books that I've read in ages. Like, it's so good. And those of you who've tried this series because of it, you know, Julia Wolf, she just writes men like no other these days. Honestly, the way that her heroes think about a heroine, the way that they daydream or the way that they see them, it's never in crass or crude ways. Well, I mean, until they're very much in a relationship with them, you know, a long way in. They're always inspired by the heroine's like attitude and the way that they look at things and what they bring to their lives. And I just love that. I just love the way that they think about their women. It's just so romantic, so romantic. So, but he's the ultimate caretaker too. Have no doubt about it. So there you go, y'all. Those are some recommendations from me that involve caretaking, as well as there was a few sickbed ones thrown in there. Again, I don't have like tons of these sickbed ones for this because I have made this video 2 other times, I think. So you can check those out if you're interested. But yeah, let me know which of these are your favorites and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Leave me an emoji down below. Maybe you have a nurse, since it was caretaking. Leave me a little nurse emoji so we know. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.